47,000 years ago, a man's heart did something his brain couldn't explain. He didn't have a word for it. Lucky him. Love isn't new. It's ancient biology hijacking ancient brains. And it nearly got people killed. This is the story of the first heartbreak and the chemistry behind it. 200,000 years ago, humans didn't fall in love. They survived. Or so we thought. Pair bonding is older than humanity itself. Older than fire. It started as grooming. Literally, picking bugs off each other. Romantic? Not exactly. Effective? Absolutely. We still see it in our closest relatives today. Grooming released oxytocin, the same hormone behind hugs and trust. Survival meant sticking together. Bonding wasn't romantic. It was tactical. But somewhere in that tactic, something else crept in. Attachment became desire, and desire became a problem. Because a couple who only wanted each other, bad for the group. Tribes needed everyone bonded to everyone, not just to one person. So early humans had a rule most of us have never heard of. Anthropologists call it partible paternity. We'll just call it complicated. Some isolated cultures still practice versions of it today, but somewhere, some prehistoric humans still chose just one person. Against every evolutionary incentive not to. Why? Because the brain doesn't run on logic, it runs on dopamine. And dopamine doesn't care about your tribe's survival strategy. It only cares about one thing, making you want them again. This was happening 100,000 years before Rome, before writing, before cities. We have proof. Graves with two bodies, buried holding hands. Archaeologists call them the lovers, found embracing for 6,000 years. Whatever they felt, it outlasted their bodies. So love wasn't invented, it was uncovered. And once uncovered, it couldn't be put back. Editorial note, this is the part historians often skip. Because the moment love appeared, so did jealousy. And jealousy, in the Stone Age, was not a feeling. It was a weapon. Which brings us to the chemical trap nobody saw coming. Your brain on love looks like your brain on cocaine. That's not a metaphor. That's neuroscience. The same reward circuit, the same craving, the same withdrawal. Ancient people didn't know why they couldn't stop thinking about someone. They just knew it hurt, so they blamed the gods. Eros, Kama, Freya. Every culture invented a god to explain the chaos. Easier than admitting it's just brain chemistry. Dopamine makes you chase. Cortisol makes you panic when you can't. That's why losing someone you love feels like dying. Your body doesn't know the difference between heartbreak and starvation. To your nervous system, abandonment is starvation. Enter oxytocin, the hormone that turns sex into loyalty. It floods the brain after intimacy, and it doesn't just fade away. Scientists proved it with voles. One species mates for life, one doesn't. The difference? A single gene controlling oxytocin receptors. One gene. That's all that separates loyalty from chaos. Humans likely have a version of that same gene, which means some people really are biologically wired for monogamy, and some people just aren't. Evolution doesn't do fairness. This created a problem evolution never solved cleanly. Two competing instincts. Spread your genes wide, or protect one bond. That tug of war is still happening in every relationship today. Ancient humans felt this exact pull, and most chose the bond. Not because biology forced them to, because something else did. Editorial note, love may be the most successful survival trick ever built. A bonded pair survived harsh winters better than a loner ever could. So did their children. So did their children's children. Love wasn't just a feeling, it was a multiplying advantage. We even painted it on cave walls, thousands of years before words for it existed. So, no, ancient people weren't too primitive to feel this. They were too human not to. But in one ancient society, falling in love with the wrong person wasn't heartbreak. It was a death sentence. We found the law tablet that proves it. You won't believe the punishment. That tablet comes later. First, how did Stone Age people even flirt? Badly. Mostly very, very badly. Ochre body paint is 100,000 years old, and it wasn't just decoration. It signaled health, status, availability. Archaeologists found ochre processing kits 100,000 years old in South Africa. Jewelry came next. Shells, bones, teeth from animals you'd killed yourself. Romantic gesture or a resume? You decide. Every gift was a hidden message. I can provide. I can protect. These shell beads are over 70,000 years old. Some of humanity's first jewelry. Dance was next. Not for fun, for display. Stamina, coordination, confidence, all on full display. Somewhere in that crowd, someone was always watching. But courtship wasn't free. It had rules, strict ones. Elders decided who could approach who. Love had a gatekeeper. Break the rule, and the consequences weren't gentle. So people got creative. Secret meetings, coded gifts, lookouts. Forbidden love isn't a modern invention. It's the oldest plot there is. Especially between rival tribes, loving an outsider was the biggest risk of all. Because outsiders weren't just strangers. They were threats. And yet, people crossed that river anyway. If caught, the punishment ranged from exile to death. Some people decided that was worth it. Anthropologists have a term for it, mate exile, leaving everything for love. Genetic studies confirm it. Ancient humans regularly left their tribe for a mate. This wasn't rare, it was how entire bloodlines mixed. Love didn't just connect people, it connected entire civilizations. Editorial note: without forbidden love, human genetics would look nothing like today. But not every story like this ended happily. Some never made it back, some never made it at all. And by the time civilizations rose, love had a new enemy. Not nature this time, law. Because once cities appeared, so did rules about who you were allowed to love. One ancient kingdom carved the punishment for forbidden love into stone. It's still standing today. And what it says will make modern dating look easy. That tablet is real. It's called the Code of Hammurabi, 1754 BCE, one of the first written legal codes in human history. And it had a lot to say about love. If a married woman was caught with another man, the punishment was drowning. Both of them, tied together, thrown in the river. Unless the husband chose to forgive her, he had that power. Romantic, right? Your life, his decision. But love hadn't disappeared. It had just gone underground. And then, someone did something nobody expected. They wrote it down. This tablet is real. The oldest love poem ever discovered, 4,000 years old, written by a Sumerian priestess, about a king, about desire. It wasn't private, it was performed, out loud, in public. Desire wasn't shameful in Sumer, it was sacred. Meanwhile, in Egypt, love took an even stranger turn. Egyptians didn't just write about love, they tried to weaponize it. Love spells, real ones, written on papyrus, meant to work. This spell survives today. It demands the gods make a woman sleepless with longing. Not flattering, not poetic, just blunt obsession, written in ink. Some scholars call these the world's first stalking complaints. Romance and obsession have always shared a border. Editorial note: this is where love and danger start to look the same. But not all of it was obsession. Some of it was just devotion. This poem calls the beloved the one and only sister, having no peer. 3,000 years old. And it still sounds achingly familiar. Some things about love never needed translation. But every civilization that wrote about love also wrote about losing it. And nowhere was that loss more dangerous than inside a royal court. Because royal love wasn't private, it was political. Here's the part most people don't know. One ancient queen was executed for falling in love with the wrong man. Not a peasant, not a servant, a queen, and it nearly toppled an empire. If a queen could be killed for love, was anyone ever truly safe to feel it? We're talking about Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, 1536, accused of adultery. Historians still debate if any of it was true. It didn't matter. The king wanted her gone, so she was gone. Editorial note: this wasn't really about love. It was about power. But love was the excuse. It always was. Across history, governments used love as a tool to control, to punish. Marriage wasn't about feelings. It was about alliances, land, power. Falling in love with the wrong person could destabilize an entire kingdom, which is exactly why so many people fell in love with the wrong person anyway. Because the heart never read the rule book. One forbidden love affair didn't just cost a life. It started a war that lasted a decade. You've heard the name. You just didn't know it started with a heartbeat. Helen of Troy, the face that allegedly launched 1,000 ships. Spoiler, it probably wasn't really about her. Most historians think the Trojan War was really about trade routes. But love made a much better story, so love got the credit. Greek vase paintings from 2,500 years ago already told this exact story. True or not, ancient people believed love could start wars, which means they also believed it was dangerous enough to die for. Rome had its own version of this problem, class. A Roman citizen marrying a slave wasn't just frowned upon. It was illegal. Roman law built entire walls between who could love who. Yet Roman tombstones still record these forbidden marriages, openly, proudly. People broke the law, and then carved the proof in stone forever, because some risks felt smaller than the alternative. A life without them. Meanwhile, across the world, ancient China was writing its own love laws. Marriages were arranged. Love was expected to come later, if at all. Falling for someone outside that arrangement could shame an entire family. Yet China's oldest poetry collection, the Xijing, is full of secret love songs, 3,000 years old, still about wanting someone you're not allowed to want. Every culture built a different wall. Every culture found someone willing to climb it. This wasn't one culture's obsession, it was a universal human glitch. Editorial note, maybe it's not a glitch, maybe it's the whole point, because no law, no king, no border ever fully stopped it. It just made the people who tried it braver. In ancient India, the rules were even more specific. Caste determined who you could love before you ever met them. And yet this same era produced the Kama Sutra. Desire, studied like a science. Strict rules, and an entire manual for breaking them well. Contradiction wasn't a flaw in ancient society, it was the whole system. Strict law on one hand, hungry hearts on the other, always at war. And in one ancient kingdom, that war had a final, brutal casualty. Not a soldier, not a king, a teenager. This true story predates Shakespeare by 1,000 years, and it's far darker than Romeo and Juliet. Two families, one impossible love, one ending nobody saw coming. That story comes from Mesopotamia, 1,000 years before Rome existed. Two trading families, one forbidden engagement, one furious father. He didn't just forbid the marriage, he burned the letters. But some letters survived. Personal, private, never meant for us to read. One reads, "Why have you not written to me? I am troubled." 4,000 years old. Still sounds like a text left unread. The Greeks took letter writing further. They made it an art form. There were rules, structure, even rhetorical techniques for romance. This papyrus letter survives from Roman Egypt. A soldier writing home to his wife. He wrote, "I think of you constantly. Send me your portrait." A photograph before photographs existed. Desperation finds a way. Rome had professional letter writers. You'd hire someone to write your love letter, outsourcing romance. 2,000 years before dating apps did it for you. You'd describe your feelings. They'd find the right words. Some scribes built entire reputations on writing the perfect love letter. In some places, the right words were worth more than gold. In ancient Japan, the morning after meant something very specific. The kinuginu letter, sent at dawn after a night together. If your handwriting was sloppy, the relationship was basically over. Imagine getting dumped over your penmanship. The paper, the ink, the poem folded inside, all of it was judged. Even the flower you attached to the letter carried a hidden message. Love in Heian, Japan, was basically a competitive sport. Across the ocean, the Maya had their own rituals entirely. Gifts of jade, carved with symbols only the couple understood. Jade like this has been recovered from burial sites across Mesoamerica, buried with the dead. So the message could travel with them. Editorial note, every culture invented its own language for the same feeling. Different words, different rituals, the exact same ache underneath. But not every love letter ended in romance. Some were the last words ever exchanged between two people. Jealousy, betrayal, letters that ended marriages instead of starting them. One letter, discovered hidden in a wall, ended an entire dynasty. That letter belonged to an empress, and what it revealed got her entire family executed. If you think that was bad, wait until you see what happened next. The empress was Wu Zetian, China's only female emperor, 690 CE. She rose to power through intelligence, ruthlessness, and love. Her hidden letters revealed a lover inside her own court. She didn't wait to be punished. She had him promoted. When you're the emperor, the rules change slightly. Editorial note, Wu Zetian did what centuries of women before her couldn't. She refused to let love be used as a weapon against her. That's the turning point. That's where love begins to shift. In medieval Europe, romantic love became entertainment. Poetry, music, troubadours sold the idea that love was noble, worthy, even divine. These manuscripts spread the idea of romantic love across an entire continent. For the first time, love wasn't just for kings and priests, it was for everyone. 100,000 years of biology, finally given a name everyone could use. But the biology never changed. The heartbreak never changed. The dopamine rush, the oxytocin pull, the cortisol crash of losing someone. It was all already inside us. 40,000 years before we had words for it. Every generation thought they invented heartbreak. None of them did. These are 9,000 years old, carved by people who loved and lost just like you. Editorial note: modern love isn't broken. It's just very, very old. Every rule society built around love, it bent. Eventually it broke, because you cannot legislate what the brain does in the presence of certain people. Trust us, several thousand years of emperors, kings, and gods already tried. Love won, every single time. But here's the part nobody tells you. Of all the documents recovered from the ancient world, love letters outnumber war records. Think about that. More love letters than battle reports. History remembers the wars, but the people lived for the letters. And every single one of them was written by someone who felt exactly what you feel. They just didn't know anyone 4,000 years later would ever read it. And yet, here we are. Ancient people caught feelings. They had no idea what to call them. But they carved it in stone anyway. They crossed rivers for it. They died for it. Nothing has changed. But the ancient world had one more love story. And this one rewrote an entire religion. A Viking warrior, a forbidden marriage, a god who turned it into mythology. That story coming next. If you made it this far, you now know something most people don't. Love isn't a modern weakness. It's an ancient superpower. One that survived every empire, every law, every god, ever built to contain it. Subscribe if that matters to you. We'll be here, digging up the rest. New video dropping soon. You won't want to miss it.